The Miami Hurricanes faced some first half adversity, but they responded with a dominant second half in a blowout win against USF. What did we learn?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Victory Sunday. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 50-15 blowout. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We will talk about the new Associated Press top 25 and where Miami now stands in the top 10. Spoiler alert, we're moving on up. We'll talk about the top standouts in Miami's what turned into a blowout victory against USF. I know we had our tense moments in the first half. And about the statements that the Hurricanes made. So we have here, I think this is the second ever Truth Teller Sunday. We did this after the UF game. I guess we'll make this a thing. Anytime Miami plays a team within the state of Florida, we'll do this after these games. Bruce Warner, the Truth Teller, is with us. So, Bruce, first and foremost, I know you were like me. We were a little panicked during that first half when USF's offense was moving down the field between the 20s with very little issues. So, how were you feeling in those tense moments?
How was I feeling then? I was texting with you. I was sick to my stomach. I'm not allowed to use, according to Locked On, I'm not allowed to say ASS anymore. So I threw out words that are not like that, but they're not allowed on this show. That's for sure. Woo, was I cursing yesterday? My neighbors must have been like, what the hell's going on? That was tough. And as it turned out, I said it 100 times probably since spring. Who's going to stop this offense? And the answer is nobody. Nobody going forward for the rest of the regular season. Nobody's going to stop this offense. So, I was very nervous. And then look at all the stupid plays that happened. Jacoby drops the pass right in his hands, and it pops for an interception.
By the way, that should not count as an interception. I feel bad for Cam Ward.
I do too, but it has to.
There.
Yeah. That was terrible. He put the ball right on the money on that pass,
Yeah.
The penalties against us, things that were going on were just, and that the speed of which these guys went from play to play to play, I had never seen that before. I mean, even in North Carolina last year, I thought we had chances to substitute. So I understand why they were into this game. They thought they could beat Miami. I got it. But at the end of the day and after halftime, Miami just turned it up, not a notch, multiple notches on both sides of the ball. And they laid out a few of the USF players. How many guys were laying on the ground after a play?
It seemed like in the second half, every play there was a USF guy down. And it happened with a couple Miami guys in the first half. Thankfully, everybody who went down in the first half for Miami came back. We saw Simeon Barow and Tyler Barron go down. It looked like Jacoby George was limping around. Maybe Mario will update all the statuses, but it seemed like Miami came out of the game without any serious injuries.
Yeah, and that's what you always worry about. But I got to tell you something. I watched a YouTube podcast, and the coach of USF was on there. It was post-game press conference. And this guy, I'm impressed by him. Yeah. And I'm going to root for the Bulls going forward. He sat there and he gave all the credit to Miami. He said, we tried to do this. We tried to attack Ward. We couldn't bring him down. We tried this. We tried that. That team is loaded. That means Miami. They're loaded. Their defensive line is incredible. Their offensive line is massive. No matter what we did, and we did some good things, he said, but we couldn't punch it in the end zone like they did. We had to settle for field goals. We got one was an extra point got blocked. So, but I appreciate somebody as opposed to some of the other coaches who just were like, we should have done this. They were lucky. I hate that. I don't even know what did Florida's coach say after the game. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think I was too busy celebrating.
Yeah, me too. But you know what? This guy, he was very humble, and I appreciate what he said. I have respect for him now.
Yeah, and I have respect for USF. And again, like that team, I think they're very well coached by Alex Golesh, who was the one who was very graceful after the game. And I did hear some of his comments. And like, by the way, credit to that team, because in the first month of the season, they've had to play Alabama and Miami. Like, for them, it's going to get easier once they get into their AAC conference schedule. So I have a lot of credit for USF. And like you said, the way that they were running plays at a breakneck pace, specifically in that first half. So I think from a macro level, before we start breaking down the individual performances and the standouts, I think in the big picture, Bruce, the two biggest things that I learned about Miami on Saturday in that 50-15 win over USF were, first of all, the ability to adjust and adapt, right? Because again, like you were getting gashed between the 20s by that no huddle offense. You weren't able to substitute. Miami was looking a little bit gassed at times in that first half. Lance Guidry and company adjusted very well in the second half. That's the sort of thing we haven't seen in recent seasons, is the ability to adjust at halftime the way they did. And then I think another big thing that we learned, and I'm not taking any credit away from Miami's coaching, but you just see, Bruce, when you have talent like Miami has, you are able to wear down and pull away against teams like this, right? The same way that Alabama 2 weeks ago was able to weather the storm against USF the way that we did, and then pull ahead late because of their overwhelming talent. Miami is now in a similar conversation. Miami has enough talent now and enough depth to be able to pull away against inferior opposition. Not to take anything away from coaching, but this tells me Mario Cristobal has built an incredible roster. And also keep in mind, Bruce, Miami is still without some of their most important players. Like I thought, and Mario Cristobal had said that we were going to see Jalen Rivers back this week at left tackle. We didn't. Hopefully he's good to go for Friday.
He was in street clothes again.
He was in street clothes like last week. And we also, we thought maybe it's like 50-50 on Ruben Bain. We haven't seen him back yet. Hopefully this Friday. But even without these guys, Miami is still able to go out there and dominate.
Yeah, and somebody asked the coach, the USF coach, they've played Bama and Miami, who he thought was better. And he kind of didn't answer it. He just made some comparisons. But he did say that as good as Alabama was 2 weeks ago, I don't think they have the overall talent at every position that Miami has. That was his comparison. It wasn't saying who he thought would win. He just said, this team is loaded everywhere. They're 2, 3, 4 deep everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's right.
We saw that on full display. And I like we get a comment in the live chat from Michael Garcia, who says, adversity builds character. And yeah, Bruce, I think that was good for Miami. Like, they had a small, deficit in the first quarter. It wasn't anything major, but they were down, I think, 9-7. And that was actually the first time all year we've seen Miami trailing in a game, right? We saw them at times struggling in certain aspects of the first half. They did go into halftime with a lead, but I mean, we were texting each other throughout the game. Neither of us felt that great at halftime. Like, thankfully, before halftime, Cam Ward was able to hit that sensational throw to Sam Brown, which was one of the top plays of the game, to give Miami the 7-point lead going into the half. But, it didn't feel like that secure of a 7-point lead. And then Miami comes out in the second half and they shut him out. Miami ends up scoring 36 unanswered points in the game.
Yes.
That's how you respond from adversity. You go out there and you demolish, and that's what Miami did.
Oh, when it was 15-12 and we scored the touchdown right away, we went right down the field and take the halftime lead. What was it? 19-15. What was the halftime lead? 22-15.
22-15.
Yeah, I mean, that's also adversity. But I would say, from my observations, leave Sam Brown alone. Cut it out already. It's all I see. It's disgusting. The guy's good.
Yes.
So I think they should leave him alone. And Jacoby Jorg dropped the pass right in his hand. It popped up for an interception. I don't see people screaming for him to be put on the bench. So, leave him alone. These guys are out there playing really hard. And so he'll drop a ball here and there. But you know what? Just leave him alone. Stop with that. I put a few little notes in here. One, Ward is still spectacular. I mean, he's just not normal. He's
the best quarterback in the country right now.
Yeah, and I heard another show talking about, we'll see what he does the rest of the season, and then another guy on a podcast said, "Is he in the running for the Heisman?" And his partner said, "What are you, crazy? He's number one." So some of these people doing podcasts don't know what they're talking about. I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
Jordan Lyle, as Donnie Solinger told us on this show months ago, he's special. He is special. Horton, to me, is now a junior version of Andre Johnson. Big, strong, tough, and fast. Yeah. And our D-line is incredible. They don't stop. They're after.
And I'll tell you, kudos to Simeon Barow. I thought was the best player on the defensive line this week. He made a couple of key plays. He had the big sack on third down that forced the field goal for USF. The 45-yard field goal, I think, got them to 15 points. Huge sack on third down. He also had a big tackle for loss in the game. I thought Barow, for most of the season, Tyler Barron has been the dude on the D-line. Yeah, I thought Barow was the dude.
Yeah. Well, and the linebackers are playing really well. Bastaith, Mauigoa is playing really well. And the secondary looked pretty good. There was a couple of plays. Listen, that quarterback, I didn't think he was supposed to be such a good passer. He was accurate in the first half. Right. He was. He made a lot of plays.
Bruce, it's kind of the opposite of what we expected. Like we thought USF would be one-dimensional as a running team, but Miami actually kept their running game in check. I'm looking at the team stat. USF had 62 rushing yards in the game. It was actually their
something
passing
like 28 carries or 30-something carries. 1.7 or 1.8 yards per carry. Yeah, that didn't hurt us at all. He's passing her. No. And that number 38, who is this kid?
Oh, Sean Atkins.
Oh,
dude, he was great. And somebody screwed up his recruitment because he started his career as a walk-on, Atkins. Like, does that look like a walk-on? Credit to him for all of his hard work, but Atkins was giving us fits, especially in the first half.
Yeah, and there was a pass interference on number 2, Porter Jr. He was frustrated with him. You look at this kid and you see this little white guy and you think, who the hell is he? But you look at Restrepo, you can say the same thing about him. You can't stay with him. He's spectacular. Nope. So anyway, there was tons of standouts in this game.
And I want to get into more detail on some of the standouts and also what Miami has accomplished, because they've set several team records with the start that they're off to so far this year. So Hurricanes get the 50-15 blowout against USF. We got the truth teller with us. I am Alex Donno on this live episode of Locked On Canes. So make sure if you're with us live, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and we're only getting started, my friends. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I already know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel because, folks, we have been winning money. We've been having an awesome time on America's #1 sports book. Hey, NFL fans. Yeah, we got an NFL Sunday going on right now. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And the live betting, by the way, is awesome. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you so much for making this live Victory Sunday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Bruce, here's something else that I love about Miami's start so far this year. And again, I know that the competition's going to get tougher for the most part throughout the season, but the Hurricanes, credit to Tim Reynolds from the Associated Press for this stat. Bruce, right now, Miami is #1 in all of college football in third down conversion rate, which is, and I know that's something Shannon Dawson in his second year as Miami OC, that was something he was obsessing over coming out of last year, wanted to be better on third down. And it's not even like,
wait a minute, he was obsessing. We are obsessing. The fans are obsessing. What was going on with the third down? They looked like garbage. But then again, look at the difference between Van Dyke and Cam Ward. Night and day. Night and day. And he's the one that's making it all happen. He's brilliant out there. Just brilliant. By the way, I agree with Philip Rusomano. He said Brown had great blocks. He did have some great blocks.
Yes.
He looks, you don't complain about this guy. He maybe dropped a ball or two. So what? He's playing hard out there. He's really good.
And, Cam Ward is off to the most prolific start of any Miami Hurricanes quarterback in history, Bruce. We're now 4 straight games where he's thrown for at least 300 yards and at least 3 touchdowns to start his Miami career. He ended up with 404, 3 touchdowns, the interception that was not his fault whatsoever. And he had another touchdown pass that was taken off the board. I think that was Isaiah Horton, where they decided like his butt was down like a half inch short of the goal line on what would have been a terrific catch. And then Damian Martinez ended up running it in on the next play. So for Cam Ward, that throw that he made on the 76-yard bomb to Sam Brown, perfect throw, Bruce, NFL type of throw. Honestly, I thought one of the best plays when it came to improvisation that Cam Ward made was the one in the second quarter that didn't count because they claimed his knee was down upon further review, but he made that flip back to Jordan Lyle, who we thought picked up the first down, but then they determined Ward's knee was down. That was tough. That was a bang play because it kind of looked like his knee was resting on top of the hand of the USF player.
It was. And if they actually took their time to realize that was a hand and not the turf, they would not have made the call they did. So they blew it. And I still think that guy doesn't like Miami. There's something about him. It just bothers me.
Also, can someone explain to me why it was an AAC crew when Miami was the road game? Because usually when you're the road team, you get the your own conference's crew. I don't know why it was an AAC crew instead of an ACC crew. Although an ACC crew might not have been any better, Bruce, because ACC refs are also terrible.
Yeah, they don't like us. By the way, I want to make a comment about this guy, Mark Zager, who's always throwing digs. He did it. Now he's doing it again about I need to be less emotional. Don't tell me what to do. He told me a few weeks ago. It isn't like that. If he sees me in the street dressed with the hurricane stuff, I forgot what he said, but just stop.
Oh, he said he was going to call the fashion police.
Yeah, I don't want to use the words because I do have a foul mouth, but just stop it already, okay?
Hey man, you're like me. I wear my Miami gear everywhere. In fact, I was at
football. What is it, like ping pong? It's an emotional sport.
Ping pong can also be very emotional. I watched.
No, when you throw your paddle at somebody, it could be emotional.
Yeah, they got very into it. They got very into it in that game. And then the thing, Bruce, the thing about Cam Ward, I mean, there's several reasons why he's currently the Heisman Trophy front runner. Like if you watch him play, you get it, right? The way he scans the field, he improvises. He's got NFL level arm talent. But honestly, I think one of the things that impresses me the most about Ward is his pocket awareness and his ability to elude pressure and manipulate the pocket and slide out of the pocket. It's like, and yeah, I give Miami's O-line plenty of credit. And Ward was not sacked yesterday, but a lot of lesser quarterbacks would have been sacked a few times because if you have like one rusher who gets in the backfield, Ward is going to make that person miss every single time, Bruce. It happens so often. And when I watch Ward, when I watch him elude sacks and escape sacks the way he does, every time I see it happen, I'm thinking, we are so lucky to have this guy. We are so lucky to have this guy because the play is never going to end if one guy tries to sack him. He's always going to extend the play.
Well, before the season started, before even spring, I watched some of his Washington State highlights. And that was one of the things I mentioned months ago, is that his escapability is incredible. And he's always doing it. That's why it's not like he's doing it just now. He did it the last 2 years at Washington State. And that's what I said to you. And that's what I was asking people about. What do you do? And I asked the coaches. I asked Kevin Beard, what do you do when he gets out there and he moves out of the pocket? What did the receivers do? And he said, the guys that were deep come forward and the guys that were shallow go deep. Right. So, that's how he scans. He knows what's going to happen as opposed to, what's this guy going to do? What is Restrepo going to do? He knows. They had that all worked out. But, yeah, his ability to escape. And wasn't there one play he ran out of the pocket and he was running toward he tiptoes to the sideline like he's just so nonchalant and he got smacked.
Yes, well, and a couple things there were a couple plays that stood out. So on the play where he got smacked out of bounds and drew a penalty, Bruce, did you see he was pointing at the dude who was trying to tackle him and like taunting the guy as he was running, and he got in the guy's head. Like the reason why the player hit him late out of bounds was because Ward taunted him and baited him, which I thought was incredible. And then the other one was, and Ward has done this, I think, in every game when, one of the plays when Miami was like, second and goal, third and goal, Ward literally pointed to the defense and told him exactly where Miami was going to run the football. And Damian Martinez runs it in for a touchdown. So it's like that dude, he's got swag. Like he has got absolute swag. And I love watching him. I don't just love watching the plays he makes on the field. I like watching some of the trash talk and the gamesmanship and all the extra stuff that comes with it.
Well, he's got a mouth on him. We've known that.
Yeah.
He's got a mouth on him. Now Zager responds back to me that he's been a Canes fan since the 70s, long before I was born. I was born in 1954, bozo.
That's Bruce, if he thinks you weren't born yet in the 70s, I would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I know, but not from him. I don't take anything from him. I'd like to meet him in the street one day. That's what I'd like to do.
Oh, man.
Take him back to my hometown. Let him walk around Newark and say things like this.
So I think we can all agree that one of the most improved players on this roster, and it would be fair to say, hey, he's improved because he's getting so many more opportunities, but he looks better in every way. Isaiah Horton at receiver, who was Miami's top receiver in the game against USF. He finally got his first touchdown of the year because he's had a couple of other touchdowns called back this season. So Horton, 8 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Had another touchdown that was taken off the board. But you talk about receivers being on the same page with Ward when he improvises. That's one of the things that Ward complimented Isaiah Horton on, that he and Horton have really good chemistry. And Horton, 6'4", he's got the size, he's got the shiftiness. This is one. Was it you who referred to him as Andre Johnson Light? Was that you?
That's what I said. But I talked to Kevin Beard when we were down there, and I asked him, what does he think of Horton? He says he's much better, but he's not a finished product. Now, that was back in April. Now he looks more like a finished product because I don't see him dropping balls. He seems to be open, and when he's not open, he still makes catches. He's got some pair of hands on him. So he's really improved. I mean, they all seem like they're improved. It's just when everybody keeps talking about this team, the talent level, the depth of the talent is just mind-blowing because they're so deep. And we keep saying that. And that's why I made this statement. Who's going to stop us on our offense? Who's going to stop us? Unless there's a bunch of, interceptions, deflected balls, late hits, penalties, things like that we just absolutely screw it. But I don't see anybody on this schedule. Everybody says Louisville. You don't think Miami's going to be jacked for Louisville? Yes, they will be.
Of course they will.
Yes,
that's going to be a tough
game.
Yeah.
It'll be a tough game. I don't know how good they really are. We beat them last year. We almost beat them last year. We didn't have anywhere near the talent we have. Yeah. So, look, Florida State, did you see them yesterday?
Wow. I didn't watch it because they were on at the same time as our game. I was following it, and I was really hoping because Cal had an opportunity at a game-winning drive where they came up short, but I was hoping Cal would win because it would just be so much fun if Florida State was 0-4. But Florida State, Bruce, they had an offensive explosion yesterday, 14 points.
Yeah.
And they got their first victory of the year. So Florida State is back.
But it did show me one thing, because people were saying the Cal game's going to be tough. No, it's not. It's like they're saying, well, we're flying out there. Well, so what? We played in the swamp. Oh, the swamp. Didn't make a difference. This team's on a mission. You could see it. I said it at the beginning of the season and all the last 4 weeks. They are so together. They are so tight. You see them on the sidelines. They're bunched around. They're jumping up and down. They're not like they were in the past years, sitting on the bench looking like they're half asleep. They're all in on this. And you can't be sitting on the bench when you have an offense like USF where they're running a play every 2 seconds. You got to be ready to get in the game if you can get in the game.
Well, there was that one. USF had that 85 play, or not 85 play. It was 85-yard drive. I don't remember how many plays, but like Miami's defense was out there forever, and then they kept converting big third downs, and they kept getting. Miami kept committing penalties. They extended the drive. So happy we finally got our defense off the field. So, folks, where does Miami now rank? Because the new Associated Press ranking, new AP Top 25. Has just dropped. It's hot off the press. Miami was ranked number 8. Where are they ranked now? We will talk about it. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I'm certainly not done with GameTime. Guys, GameTime is the only ticket app that I use because you're getting the best deals, especially the best last-minute deals. Now, it's not last minute yet, but I'm looking at Miami this coming Friday night. They host Virginia Tech, ACC opener. It's a night game, 7:30 p.m. I hope we can pack the Rock this weekend. And I'm looking at tickets right now, folks, starting at $35. Starting at $35. Grab your tickets, Miami versus Virginia Tech at GameTime. Why is GameTime the top ticket service? Well, I mentioned the prices get lower as you get closer to the event, which is incredible. Folks, GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The all-in pricing feature is a game changer. Turn on all-in pricing, and they're going to give you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? Oh, it's game time. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. Hey, if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up to become a Locked On Canes insider. I include a link in the show description below. You try it free for 14 days. When you become an insider, you get text messages directly from my phone to yours, breaking news, recruiting scoops, show updates, one-on-one questions and answers. Try it free for 14 days. Then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. Give you a lot of added value on there on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. All right, Bruce, would you like to see the freshly revealed Associated Press top 25?
Of course.
That was a bit of a setup question. There you see Miami.
How many ACC's teams besides us? Oh, I see Louisville on there.
Two more. Yeah, there's two more. So I have the screen right where Miami is. Miami moves up a spot from number 8 to number 7 because Mizzou dropped 4 spots. They just barely squeaked by Vanderbilt. So you still have Texas at number 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, Tennessee moves up a spot to 5, Ole Miss drops 1 spot to 6.
Wait, go back to that again. Go back.
Yeah.
1, 2. Everybody but Ohio State is in the Southeastern Conference. So they're going to have to play. Most of those teams are going to play and beat other teams. So if Miami keeps rolling, they should finish in the top 4. They're going to want, if they win the ACC, they're going to get a bye in the first round.
Well, exactly. So like even if Miami were to finish like outside the top 4, technically, if you win the ACC, you're going to get a first round bye. So that you have that going for you. So let's look for the other ACC teams in here. You mentioned Louisville moves up 4 spots. An impressive win against Georgia Tech at home. They're number 15 now. Clemson moved up to number 17. I mean, Clemson, Bruce, the score ended up being closer than the game really was, but Clemson just annihilated NC State. It ended up 59-35. Like NC State must have scored a couple garbage touchdowns because it was way worse than that when I flipped away from that game. So, Clemson, I think, is better than we thought that they were, because Georgia's going to do to a lot of teams what they did to Clemson. And then you see rounding out the top 25. Let's see others receiving votes. Boston College did receive some votes. They beat Michigan State this weekend. Pittsburgh received some votes. Just looking for ACC teams. That seems to be it. For SMU received a couple of votes. So those are the others receiving votes from the ACC. All right. So Bruce, let's coming out of this USF game. Again, it was really good. It wasn't perfect. It's probably never going to be perfect, but how concerned are you about penalties? Number one, because it was too much, definitely. I also thought that refereeing crew, that was one of those crews that really made it about them. Like they felt like we're going to call just about everything. Like if you look for a penalty on every play, you can find a penalty on just about any play. So it felt like that was happening, but 11 penalties for 113 yards. So in 3 consecutive games, 8 penalties against FAMU, 8 against Ball State, 11 against USF. It's too much. This team does have to get more disciplined.
Yeah, but if you have referees like that going like this and throwing their flag, That's what you're going to get. You're going to get it. I'm not as worried about the penalties as I am they keep that energy up and continue to play just the way they've been playing. Eventually, they're going to blow these teams out. And by the way, yeah, I agree. If they win the ACC, they get a bye no matter what the ranking. But I'm just saying that some of these teams are going to lose to each other. So
that's right.
That's
right.
But to me, it looks like us and Clemson in the title game, unless Louisville beats us.
Yeah,
and they control their own destiny. I don't know if they play each other, Louisville and Clemson. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so something before we wrap up this recap of Miami's 50-15 blowout at USF. We mentioned Jordan Lyle, long touchdown. That, by the way, that was the longest run from scrimmage in Miami Hurricanes history.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
No one's ever gone 91 yards. Duke Johnson 10 years ago went 90. Jordan Lyle went 91. Shout out to Jordan Lyle. I also thought A.J. Allen played well, picked up made a couple of big plays, had a nice catch. He had a first down run. It was like a 3rd and 3, where he plowed the extra yard that he needed to get. And also, I want to give a shout out to there were 2 players who had interceptions: Meesh Powell, who got his 2nd of the year, and Myles Mooyoung. Bruce, I'm sure you've seen him in practice before.
Yes.
So Mooyoung, he's a walk-on, but every time I've watched a Miami practice, I always see this guy making plays in practice, and so it's like I've always wanted to see Mooyoung get some reps, create some moments in games. He got the interception, and then a fan in the front row tossed him a turnover chain, and he put it on, which was kind of
all right.
funny.
I saw that because some people that were reviewing it said, "Oh, so they've got the turnover chain back," and I said, "No." And then I remember watching it the screen, and I said, "He better take that off because if Mario sees that, he's not going to like it." And they panned back to him, and he didn't have it on anymore. I knew, because he doesn't like that stuff. It's not about him.
I know he doesn't, but I don't know. Like it was just like an impromptu thing where it's not like he brought his own turnover chain. Like some fan threw him a turnover chain. So I think Mario will probably let that slide. I don't think.
Yeah, he'll probably see it on the tape. And then after the game is over, I saw Mario running out to the field, telling all his guys to go over to the stands and thank the fans for supporting them yesterday.
Yeah,
now, that was pretty cool. It's not all about him and running off into the tunnel. He was making sure his players thanked the fans. That's a great thing. That is a great thing. Yeah.
Listen, we've had a great time. The same way Miami left a little meat on the bone, I'm sure we left some meat on the bone. So you guys let us know if there's anyone or anything we didn't talk enough about. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll hit on it again on the Truth Teller Tuesday coming up in a couple of days. Because
everybody says I'm too emotional, but I can't help it because I was somewhat down yesterday at halftime, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, now I feel better.
I think you needed, and so did I. We needed the halftime pep talk more than the players did, probably, because we were a little concerned.
I was out of control, but that's what happens. That's why my wife refuses to watch any games with me. She refuses.
Yeah, so does mine.
Because because it's not fun to listen to me.
Yeah. No, I can totally get that. Well, huge shout out to the Truth Teller, Bruce Warner. Huge shout out to everyone who's watching and listening to this episode. Make sure you check out the audio version. You can take us with you wherever you go, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the audio versions as well. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.